Welcome to the second part of the overview on China for chapter 27. Now, here we see a population graph before we get into culture and Christianity in China. And I just want to point out here this dip in population. It happens right around 1650, which is a result of the 1644 rebellions and weakening of the Ming state. And in 1644, the Qing actually take over. So because of the rebellions and warfare that goes on with that transfer to power, population does dip. But even with that turbulence, by 1750, China's population had more than doubled, which, as we referred to in the last section, caused a lot of problems like famine and rebellion. So on to culture. Of course, like we've been learning about with China, Confucianism played a big role in this time period as with others. But this Confucianism was influenced by Buddhism. Remember, that's what Neo-Confucianism can be described as. Both the Ming and Qing emperors were active supporters of the Confucian traditions, including and especially Neo-Confucianism and the scholar Zhu Zi. And pardon me if I did not say his name entirely correctly. His calls for self-discipline, filial piety, and obedience was what established rulers wanted, and especially in the wake of the turbulence of the Yuan dynasty. So all of those values, self-discipline, filial piety, and obedience, are fairly traditional. So there's a continuing influence on, or emphasis on, traditions. The Hanlin Academy was founded to promote Neo-Confucianism and Confucian scholarship during this time period. Collections of literary, historical, and philosophical texts, such as Yang Li's Encyclopedia and Kangxi's collection of books, and Qianlong's massive complete library of the four treasuries, or like basically a compilation of all of the knowledge that the treasuries had at that time, all received substantial imperial patronage. So basically, emperors emphasized this literary tradition and this compilation of knowledge. So again, other examples included the collection of books and the complete library of the four treasuries. The population of the cities was increasingly literate, but they actually showed less interest in Neo-Confucianism than in popular culture. We might call this pulp fiction. They were more action and romance based. You might consider them like fluff, or maybe you might look to something, your history textbook versus the Hunger Games, which would be more exciting to read. And some of these books included The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, The Dream of the Red Chamber, and The Journey West, excuse me. These books are actually still popular even today. So this is a Confucian school, and these are scholars waiting to get their exams. Their exams are going to be posted. Their scores are going to be posted here. And remember, the Confucian Civil Service exam is like a 3-day test, all essay. Pretty brutal. Lastly, Christianity. Christianity returned Christianity returned to China in the 16th century through the efforts of Jesuit Matteo Ricci, among others. Ricci attempted to win converts and impress the central court of Wanli with examples of European technology, things like eyeglasses. The Chinese loved these eyeglasses that Matteo brought with him. He had an amazing facility for languages. He was truly a genius. He learned Chinese incredibly quickly and how to write Chinese, and he was pretty successful. He wrote this book called The True Meaning of the Lord in Heaven, which attempted to convince the Chinese that the philosophies of Jesus and of Confucius were similar. However, this flexibility backfired on him because other religious orders who were attempting to get converts wrote a letter to the Pope about Matteo's unorthodox ways of promoting Christianity. Like, he would have services in Chinese. And there was a papal declaration against Confucianism, and when that happened, this rigidity of Christianity, like with the Japanese, took hold, and Kangxi eventually put an end to the Christian preaching in China. Kicking out the missionaries. Pretty ironic. The result was that Europeans knew a lot more about China, but the Europeans didn't really add anything to the knowledge or the technology of China, except for those eyeglasses and clocks, super into clocks as well. And that is the end of the flipped classroom. Thank you for listening.